Hello, my name is Surreal Lemming. Today I'm bringing you yet another game of Planetary Annihilation on Alpha build 49789. There are some general just updates to the Linux and Mac clients in this version, as well as some general balance changes as have been in every patch. They boost artillery slightly, which is quite nice, and nuke explosion is now orientated properly. It was a little bit funny, and I didn't actually catch any video of it, unfortunately, right at the start. I have a special guest with me today.
Hello, hi, Surreal Lemming. Thanks for inviting me in today.
Right, he's going to be, I say casting, co-casting, but I suppose it's more just looking at the game with me and making comments about how terrible I'm playing. Hopefully, well, hopefully not too much, but
No, you're a very good player, Lemmy. And yeah, so hi everybody. My name's Morgwai, and I'm going to be here today helping out.
Fantastic. Well,
so we start off with your standard build that you've shown me a couple of times, which is the two extractors. Sorry, it's the
extractor, energy extractor, then factory.
And you've changed the build from previously, haven't you, into a vehicle factory rather than a
bot factory.
Factory. And what was the reason for that?
I find it's a lot more safe generally. I think that the vehicles, because they are stronger at the start of the game, they are much more of a defensive posture. So if someone does do an early attack, you can very easily defend it just by spamming your pants, by getting your commander and a couple of things on that one factory.
Fair enough. And in the previous Planetary Annihilation, sorry, Total Annihilation, vehicles were a lot slower, had higher HP, and generally did more damage. There were, of course, the odd exceptions, but generally that was the. Is that the same?
That is still the case at the minute. However, because obviously all the balance is completely in flux, and it's not really tuned at all.
No.
The speed of everything is about the same.
Really?
Anti-air bots and anti-air vehicles move at the same speed.
Okay.
And the Tech 1 bot moves about a little bit faster than the ants.
Right.
But the Tech 2 vehicles move and Tech 2 bots move about the same speed.
Oh, okay. So speed is not an advantage with bots at the moment, which is
no.
Okay, and
rate of fire is though.
Rate of fire
is a massive, and the shots actually move quicker. So
okay.
It's much harder to move out the way.
So similar to the Kiwi,
yes,
it was very difficult to move out of those shots because they were just spammed everywhere.
Exactly. Okay. It's because everything does have direct hit detection, which of course is one of the major benefits of the game. Yeah,
and again, this has been one of the major confusions with us, that we've always considered that micro being essential to any RTS, and the designers, developers, have said that they want to reduce micro, but we don't currently feel that.
I don't think they've done any reduction of micro at all at the minute. I think that is going to change when you do have the planets. So even though you are going to be required to micro as much if you want to be the most cost effective, you are still going to be rewarded for microing as much as possible. So higher APM players and the more aware players will be better. However, strong macro of multiple planets is going to be the most beneficial, I think, simply because if you can outproduce your opponent 2-1, no matter how well they micro, you should just be able to run over them.
Fair enough. So we should probably talk about the game. At this point, we've scouted out our nearest enemy,
and he's very, very, very close.
Yeah, and you're going for your standard econ build.
Yeah, I decided to. I don't normally get this tech on the radar. I should do it more often, but I do get it as he is so close because I can cover his entire base and just see what he's doing. And I also normally get, after my third engineer, get anti-air bots, but I decided to go for land bots. So I have the energy to manage it, simply because if he decides to tower defense push me or something, like everyone probably saw in that horrible game where I died very quickly, I should be able to counteract that a lot better.
And you're going for your standard. I see you doing like a circular wall of mass extractors, which I do find very interesting. I'm a big fan of StarCraft 2, as you know, and using buildings, even important buildings, as part of your wall is a standard play. And this seems to be something that I've seen you do multiple games and has favoured you. From what we've seen.
Well, the main reason I do it is partly because it's a wall, and partly because it gives me vision on the outside of my base, which is very nice. But also because it messes with the AI, so they can't path very well. So it forces when enemies click and they have radar coverage, their units will diverge and try to go from like scissor angles and whatnot. Makes it a lot it can actually work in their benefit sometimes, but most of the time it works in my benefit.
And here we see you building that lovely Tech 1 artillery. You're going to start applying some pressure.
Yeah.
Now, again, we were jumping back to the previous conversation about a spread out base. Now, this is something you're slowly convincing me on. But I've got to be honest, as an RTS player, I do like to have my base compact. I don't like to be spread out. My instinct is to, have these more kind of force engagements into certain lines and to be able to control my base, where you've gone for a very spread out, very, what I would think of as an undefendable base, but you find the exact opposite occurs.
Yes, because it's a spherical map and there are no hard corners. Anyone can attack you from any side, obviously. Regardless of where you are, what you're doing, you do have obstacles to land vehicles sometimes, and of course ships can only go on water, but the vast majority of the time you are surrounded by enemies, possibly. So by spreading out your base, even though it takes longer to get from point A to point B to defend, it also takes them longer to get to your important, the vital part of your base.
Because if they attack from, let's say, the north, kind of the north curve of your base, you'll still have econ because you spread it out. You don't just do, this section's going to be all buildings, this section's going to be all econ. You do spread it out.
Well, if for instance, this guy down here, I didn't get this Tech 1 artillery, and he starts to artillery push me.
So what is this player? What colour is he at the moment?
This guy is the green player.
So white cheese. So we're attacking white cheese. This artillery is just finishing now, and this is when we really start to apply the pressure.
Oh, yes.
Now this forces him into an attack, if I remember correctly.
Well, it should force him into attack, and I believe he does push out, but if this happened to me, I probably would have actually just moved my base backwards.
Yeah.
I don't think I would have pushed out on here. I think it's a bit of a mistake.
To be honest, it depends whether he had Tech 1 radar up. We don't know what he knows is firing him at this stage. He knows it's artillery, but he doesn't know how much you've got. So he comes in here.
He's got anti-air vehicles, as you can imagine, most people would have
at the start of the game, and that just falls to your tank. His commander comes out. Now, again, this is a tactic that I've used against you in Supreme Commander back in the day when you knew the game significantly better than me, and got me my first victory against you, which was quite amusing. And he doesn't do quite as successfully, though. He does, however, manage to damage your economy. Now, we've both
heavily damaged my economy.
heavily damage your economy. We've both discussed the difficulty of this currently. This early game. Now, again, this will be amended once we get more planets.
Kind of. It will get amended when we get more planets. Also, when the spawn location generation's a little better. Now, because I think spawning this close is just unfair to the two people it happens to.
Yeah. Because it puts you in a very limited situation.
You'll always be at a disadvantage of everyone else. Now, they are, you can pick them, they are randomised, so it is just a bit of luck on the draw. But there's no way of knowing how close another player is going to just be spawned into. So I think they should make like a minimum distance that the spawns can happen in.
And this is brilliant. You've got those two bots out and they go to making energy. Unfortunately, I think something bad happens to them in a minute or two. But again, you're throwing down energy. Your mass is fine. And again, because you spread out your base,
I've lost my energy and some of my mass, but the majority of my mass is okay.
Yeah. And you've also managed to save your advanced tech lab, which. So he took out what? An artillery, a radar, and some energy and some mass.
He did take out most of my base, but at the same time, I am in a good position to recover from this.
Yeah.
I haven't just been knocked right back to square one.
Yeah. And at this point, I think we saw the update. We've realised now the update changed. We realised previously that the buildings now explode when the commander dies.
Yeah.
So it's on assassination, essentially.
Yeah, it's on assassination rather than... Well, it was kind of assassination before, because technically the player still lost. He couldn't win once his commander died. But he could still build units, and all his stuff was still there. So I actually kind of prefer that to a point. Because it meant that commander snipes, while very good, and that player was going to lose then, it still allowed them to be part of the game.
Yeah.
So, like, if for instance he came at me with his commander and destroyed my stuff, he could have carried on building.
Now, here's a perfect example actually that we're seeing on screen at the moment
of micro.
And why micro is important, because you brilliantly spread your, I was about to say Marines, you spread your tanks out, and this commander, rate of fire, is just appalling.
Yeah,
it's almost pathetic in its attempt to defend this.
I do wish that they would just give him back his overcharge and give him a standard attack, because the reason why his attack is so slow and so powerful is because they wanted to remove micro, so he doesn't have an overcharge button anymore for you to use. But that caused a problem. Then obviously Tech 1 rushes just be stupidly powerful. So they had to do this, but it means now this commander he can't fend off his attack very well.
Yeah, and because you literally just spread, and you make it even worse, because unfortunately the player isn't highly skilled. You know, he's doing his best.
Yeah.
But your fundamental grasp of tactics is just better at this stage.
And I'm just playing a bit quicker.
Yeah. So this beautiful moving out of these units allows you to maximise the difficulty of his defence. You take in a Tech 2 bot from the rear, which eventually I believe takes out that Tech
Yes,
level.
it does. I have found out I had a bit of trouble. He's repairing his advanced factory at the minute. And as his commander was slowly killing my units, his repairing was getting better and better to the point where I wasn't doing enough damage to actually destroy it.
But in fact, you take out this energy node, don't you?
I come around the back, take out the energy node.
And all this time, that bot...
He tries to repair it, but it's just not quick enough.
No.
I don't know how the mechanics of repair work. It seems that a building with more HP repairs quicker.
Do you think it's a percentage based on maximum health?
I think so. I think so. But I'll have to do a bit of practice on that at some point, work it out.
Some beta testing may be required.
Yeah. So I take out his advanced factory here. Now, this army, especially as I've lost those units there because they didn't want to move. Of course, that's dead. I had to move back because I couldn't take out his commander. But I think I've done enough damage just to stop him from doing anything to me now.
Yeah.
And I do have a bit of an air problem at my back, killing all my construction bots.
And this is where you essentially decide that the macro game is where we need to be.
Yeah. I'm quite happy that the other player's so far away that I don't have to worry about him too much.
And you've done enough damage to this...
Slickses.
Slickses?
I like War Stompers.
Yeah, War Stomper. I can live with War Stomper.
But yeah, so I've done enough damage to Slickses, however you like to pronounce it, and just to stop him from doing much damage to me. So I think I can quite comfortably sit back and rebuild my economy from the pit it has fallen into.
Okay, so you were mentioning that unlike the previous Supreme Commander and Total Annihilation, there's a slightly different mechanic with energy. Would you like to explain that?
Yeah, I mean, I've said in my previous videos, and I do try to push this point a lot as well, is that energy is a static thing. All units that build things always take the same amount of energy regardless of what they're building. So, say I want to have 2 fabrication vehicles. I know I need 3 Tech 1 power facilities to power them, whether they're assisting, whether they're repairing, whether they are building a building, whether they're doing anything. So
it's a static amount of energy.
It's always a static amount of energy. The only thing that changes is the amount of metal. So I know, like I just said, if I want to build 2 fabrication vehicles to make 3 Tech 1, unfortunately, trying to do that math on the fly can be a bit tricky, especially as all the vehicles, the bots, the airplanes all take a different amount of energy to build, as well as the factories and the commander. The commander's like 1500. So,
but as we get more experience in the game, as the game becomes more fixed, these are going to be static figures, and this is going to make it something that you will just be able to reel on.
You should always have your energy just above the point where it needs to be, and you'll be able to think, okay, I am now going to build 16 vehicles. I will need X amount of Tech 1 energy. So you want to get that infrastructure going before the vehicles are built.
If I can just interrupt here, that wasn't insanity by Lemming there. He actually was showing me the reclaim mechanic. He didn't just run off that energy thing and just take it off and reclaim for no apparent reason. That was to show me. And you were mentioning that the reclamation is not as good as in the previous games.
It's bugged at the minute.
Yeah.
It's been confirmed as bugged. It's basically, it reclaims basically instantly. It gives you between a lots and nothing. So that is something that's going to be fixed, but obviously there's a long list of things. Oh, something I didn't mention at the start of the video, as you probably noticed as I was showing it off, they've now got text from the moon. Yeah. The moon actually looks like a moon now, rather than an amorphous grey blob.
Fair enough.
Which is very nice to see.
It's unfortunately me throwing off Lemming's excellent commentating timing there.
I completely forgot about it, to be honest.
Fair enough. Now, one of the big differences at the moment, of course, is the fact that you can put mass extractors everywhere.
Yes.
And what's leading me to think that your concept of base building, now, there's all that you can see brilliantly on the map there. You can see, what, 5, 6, maybe 7 points quite quickly?
No, that's like 12, 15. Yeah.
So it's going to be a case that bases are going to be spread out. They're
going to have to be, yes.
Yeah, territory and land is going to be important.
Very much so.
And you can see towards the as the game progresses on, your vision is becoming further and further, your territory is becoming further and further, and you're essentially denying territory constantly.
Yes. Now, especially when you're on one planet, and without the asteroids or the nukes are going to be a bit of a game changer when they start actually working. So they only do 1 point of damage. But when they start getting in, this is going to change. But the more land that you have stuff on of yours is land that the enemy can't have stuff on of theirs.
Yeah.
And as soon as they take out building stacking as well, so at the minute, if you queue a building, you can build on top of a building infinitely.
Which is not something you like to do at this stage.
No, I don't like to. I feel it's a bit cheesy. I am going to actually start putting metal extractors on mass points as well, just to get the hang of that soon. But right now, there's too much.
Right now, it'd be too much of a disadvantage.
Yeah.
Considering that everyone else can do it.
So, I do think that as you take territory, just by having a building there, the enemy has to take a unit in to kill it before they can build a building near it. And with the way the pathing is, the way that artillery does damage and all that sort of thing, having having to compact things means that you can die very, very, very quickly. That sort of thing.
Yeah, we have seen a number of turtle players. If you want to go back and look at Lemming's previous video, there's an excellent video of a guy that just turtles up, does this stacking thing that Lemming is mentioning, and he just dies to your aircraft, doesn't he? Because he just doesn't have all the angles covered, and even the ones he does have, it's all too compact.
But you have to get out the mindset of this, of the standard RTS hard war, because just because there's a mountain range there doesn't mean that you're protected.
Unit cannons, we know they exist. Aircraft, we know they exist. Transport, we know they're going to exist.
Yeah, definitely.
There could even be the concept of teleporters. I mean, it's not that far off possibility, let alone firing an entire asteroid into someone's face.
Yeah. The other thing as well is, with the concept of nukes, and definitely the asteroids, having a spread out base like this means that if there is something that goes on,
it minimises damage.
It minimises that. A turtle player, yes, okay, he can cover his base with like 8, 9 anti-nuke things, but
he's not.
You just 5-10.
Yeah, you just 5-10 because you've got the control of the board. You can outproduce him because they're not going to have access to mass points.
Exactly.
And that's really these turtle styles are not effective in the long term. They're something that people can try now, but no.
And they'll work in the early game as well. But as the game progresses, it's going to be more about conquering entire planets and just claiming them. You want to have the entire planet as yours. You want to have all that production and push out to another planet. And make sure that if they do crash an asteroid into you, which there is no confirmed counter for yet, other than go onto the asteroid and kill them, you want to make sure that your economy isn't just going to get completely wiped out by one attack.
Now, this is a very interesting little structure. Would you like to explain that? Because, again, it's not something that will be done in the later game simply because of where you're putting the mass positions, but there are other buildings that may do this function.
Here, I put down anti-air first because I know he's got air. So I'm very worried about just bomber rushes taking out some of my econ. I put them in large groups away from each other so they're harder to get to, and you will take more damage on flybys from the anti-air. But I also put the mass on the outside because it'll mess with the AI. If you just attack moves, the AI will attack the extractors first, so I get even more damage off with my anti-air. And I can see here that poor Slixies is being attacked by War Stomper,
which is exactly what we want at this stage, and in fact, the main reason you allowed him to stay alive.
Yeah, the main reason I haven't killed him with my Tech 2 vehicles, which I could have done quite easily, or built like Tech 2 artillery just to kill him, is because it'll slow down War Stomper from attacking me and allow me to get my econ up. So.
Now, at this stage, we're progressing economy quite heavily, but I think we get into a large. You get into a large energy deficit.
I'm already starting to get there. I did a bit of a mistake. I started building the metal factories first rather than the energy because I felt I was very low on metal.
Yeah, no, fair enough.
Bit of a mistake.
Again, we're not looking at Grandmaster level play from other games. It's still an alpha. We're still all getting used to this. I'm just, as inevitably your viewers will have seen through your games, you're doing a lot better than anyone else at the moment.
Well, not other than anyone else, but I'm doing fairly well.
Fair enough.
I've probably played quite a few more games than most people.
So this stage where you're starting to, as you mentioned, move on to energy. Did we get the Tech 2 radar up at any point? Because I know I've
got one in the centre of my base.
Okay, yeah.
It's there in the top left, you can see now.
Okay.
I haven't got many others though. I did send a guy out to go build some, but he was immediately sniped by anti-air.
And what's the importance of sending out that Tech 2 bot to go and do that?
Purely vision of the map. So you make sure you're covering your angles, making sure they can't sneak up on you and attack your backside or your flanks. Make sure that he's not trying to sneaky build econ. If he had radar coverage of my econ by here, as soon as he saw the bots move out on the map, he could have sniped it before it even started, and it would have set me back another minute, maybe two, and set me back far. Especially at this point in the game, it will give him a massive advantage when a large attack comes in.
So you mentioned that Tech 2 radar is important, but your way of building it was just, I think, if someone wants to look back at the earlier video, you'll notice that you place it in just literally random points around his map. I say random, you spread it out around his base to kind of enclose him within radar.
I tried to cover most of his base, but tried to stay out of range of the centre of it, where the Tech 2 radar of his is most likely to be, so I can try and avoid getting spotted by him. I also tried to overlap where I think the weak point's going to be with more than one radar, so if he does try and snipe that radar, I've still coverage over that weak point. It can be very hard to do, simply because you want to make sure you got radar quickly, as well as good coverage, so you want to use as least amount possible at first, and go back and do more, but...
And do you find that this is something you've built up through just other tactical games? Is it because of Overlords from StarCraft 2 that you've got this kind of idea?
Since playing StarCraft 2 as Zerg, I just can't play without
map
vision, like almost complete map vision in the mid-game. I find it so much easier to play when I know what's going on, which, makes a lot of sense.
Fair enough. I think if any military strategist would have had the option of seeing all his enemies' movements, he would have gone for that. I'm pretty sure that's...
Exactly.
And you mentioned another important thing to me, which is assisting. And we've just seen you take off your bots, but generally you do assist specifically.
Yeah.
Now, I believe at this stage we're panic building energy, which is fair enough because we've been in a difficult position after that first initial push of that commander, which is nothing you could do.
Yes.
So we switch over to energy now. I think there's a full switch here of bots to energy, which is the right move, I feel.
Yeah, I've been on energy deficit for about 5-6 minutes now, which a heavy energy deficit, which wasn't great. I should have done this sooner, because if you just have all your build capacity, even if it's the same amount of build capacity, building energy instead, you'll just get out of that deficit so much quicker and be able to get everything that you were building originally that much quicker as well.
And but going back to the original thing, why do we assist buildings? Now, I know from previously, but let's tell the viewers in case they don't.
Assisting a building, as in Supreme Commander, and in Planetary Annihilation, it adds the build capacity of that unit to the building, so it builds faster, because the fluff of this game is basically everything's nanobots, so it just sprays nanobots randomly, like nano waving it's called, where it just creates the vehicle or the building or whatever. So if you have more than one doing it, you add full build capacity to the structure. Now, when you assist a factory, it builds a lot quicker, obviously because you're adding more, and it's a lot better than building another factory, because a factory costs a lot more money than a fabrication vehicle. Like, I can get out 10, 20 fabrication vehicles before...
Oh, there goes a commander.
As Dean Slicks is dead, which leaves me a bit open, which is very annoying. But the more more engineers you add to a factory, the more than you get diminishing returns, simply because there's a roll-off time. When a unit's built, it has to come off the thing before they start building again.
So it's not like you can just stick 100 engineers on one factory, because that roll time is going to hurt you again and again, and of course diminishing returns. Our friend, diminishing returns, if anyone's played any MMOs, or in fact most games these days, diminishing returns is something that has had to be added in, because us players keep getting better and better. Now we get an attack, and I'm very sorry for the viewers. I know Surreal Lemming is far more game focused, but this is my first time coming down to have a chat with him. Again, if any of you don't want to see me again, just post Surreal Lemming comments, and he will tell me to get lost.
I'm sure they're going to love you.
Oh, sure. That's very sweet. You should all subscribe though, because Surreal Lemming is amazing, as we will see by this beautiful next attack. Now, he's attacked you with some bombers, and you are coming in at a really nice angle here.
Yeah, to try and sideline him. Now, I've got a bit of a problem though. I don't have radar coverage, and he's actually just out of it.
And there was some artillery mixed in with there as well. And we've previously discussed, I'm sure you've mentioned it in your previous videos, that Tech 2 artillery is pretty good on the units.
Yeah, I don't actually build that much Tech 2 artillery units in this game because I wanted to have the beefy strength of the tanks against the bombers, because the artillery is a lot more weak against the bombers than the tanks are. And I think that was the right choice. I'm not sure whether I'd do the same in another game though. I'd like to experiment a bit more with that. I haven't really played against this sort of late game composition before. I think this is probably the closest game I've played.
And we're still not sure if that commander is safe. I really would have liked to have attacked at some point so we could have found out if that water was enough to cover him.
I don't know whether, because the thing is, when a commander's underwater, he's always poking out the top at the minute, regardless of how deep the water is.
Yeah.
But you can't attack him while he's in the water. I don't know whether that is enough water or not.
It is interesting. It's something I would have liked to have found out. We could have done it with a ground attack, possibly.
No, you can't attack your own units very well. It does work, but very, very sporadically. I don't think you can attack your own commander ever. He very cheekily tries to get a Tech 2 radar up. He could have been doing what I was doing, just placing it and hoping, and then that was just a bad cue.
Again, he probably hasn't played against someone with such an open star base, because we've not seen anyone do this, have we?
I haven't seen anyone make a base this big. I mean, this guy does expand backwards, but he still puts buildings very, very tight and compact. And like, over here, I've got 5 advanced fabrication buildings, and they're all very spread out.
Yeah.
So even if he takes out 2, I've still got 3.
Yeah.
And it gives me a lot more reaction time to save the other ones.
And you've pushed through all your build capacity at this stage. Bots are switching over to assisting buildings, and you are just going on the warpath.
Yeah.
Very important. You did mention through the game that you don't want to push out at this stage, even though we think we're ahead, simply for the fact that we haven't got radar coverage, and that's how important radar coverage here. You explain to the viewers why you wouldn't push out without radar coverage.
It is just because the range of the units is farther than their field of view.
Yeah.
And also you want to cover your flanks as well as a standard thing. But if you get the radar coverage, you can start firing earlier, which means that you get more damage done, which means you're going to lose a lot less units, which means your attack's going to be a lot more effective. It's so quick to get up Tech 2 radar as well, especially when you assist it with plenty of volt control, which I'll be doing in the near future. That it's just well worth waiting and not trying to push an advantage that you don't know if you have or not.
Mm-hmm. And like for me personally, I would have run over a couple of bots to make some air factories and just spanned out a couple of scout planes. Is there any particular reason you didn't choose to do that in this game?
Just I was doing other things.
Fair enough.
I do get my commanders to start building one in the fairly near future.
Fair enough.
But I do think that getting an air factory a bit earlier would have done me proud, but I was just worried about getting killed at this point because my economy was so low and I wasn't really building much and only had one factory until quite recently, making Tech 2 units, so I was a bit worried. But now all these are up, I feel a lot safer, so I start to be a bit more aggressive with my positioning of my army and my radar.
And so a nice little firewall's coming out. We're starting to extend the base. The units are starting to be transferred off into just general production.
Yep.
Now you've mentioned that you tend to stick with 1 bot on the Tech 1s, but on the Tech 2s you feel 2 to 3 is the preferred.
Yeah. I just generally find that I don't have a number of vehicles I try to aim for.
Mm-hmm.
I just kind of put them assisting as I feel the need to. I do like to have 1 on Tech 1s and no more.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think it's just a waste of build capacity. But on the Tech 2s, I think 2 to 3 is a very good number. I think you could actually put more on the Tech 2s and get units out faster. And I think that probably worth it rather than making more facilities but only up to maybe 5 bots. I think after that point, you're better off just making another facility or 2.
Do you feel with the complexity of Planetary Annihilation, like build orders something more common?
Tech 1 bomb one, but his bombs don't go off very well, luckily. Which allows me to get my army down here and...
But even then, as you've mentioned with this spread out base concept, you would have lost, what, maybe 2 of those advanced tech buildings there?
Yeah.
With the build capacity that could rebuild those very quickly.
And if he just goes at slightly the wrong angle with this thing, I've got anti-air spread around everywhere. Like these firing lines, as you mentioned earlier, I was building, they're just 4 lines of 4 anti-air. They are going to die incredibly quickly if there's ever an attack. But if he tries to have any airplane attack my base from that direction, he's just going to look like here. He's just losing so many, and it's costing me barely anything to maintain.
Yeah. And it allows you to reposition. It's constantly... I think he's far too hesitant in this. We've seen him a number of times pull out bombers when he really could have got into the heartlands and tried to do some damage. And I think, against someone microing brilliantly, spreading out his aircraft, we could be looking at difficulties here. But again, you just spread out your army very quickly, very well structured composition. You know that you need to spread out against that artillery, which I think it's a bot, isn't it?
It's a Tech 2 vehicle.
Yeah. That you eventually go and kill. But even now, you're just constantly reinforcing your line, pushing him back, and very quickly he's going to get into a sticky position. This radar is starting to come up now. You're starting to get a lot more.
I should have got... I did start building that earlier, but my Tech 2 bot died. So I just had to make another one very quickly.
Right.
So I actually put all the build capacity off those 2 advanced fabrication places and start blasting through this Tech 2 radar.
And this is something that, because you focused on economy, because you focused on build capacity, that is very simple for you to do, whereas other builds that are far more vehicle focused, far more unit focused, at this stage of the game, you're just putting out more than they can because you've got more build capacity.
Yeah.
Also, you could have tech switched at any stage.
Yeah, I could very easily, because rather than having 20 vehicle factories, I've got 5 being supported. I could actually just make 5 advanced air factories a lot quicker and still be able to get the same amount of capacity out. And it comes a bit of a push. I can see that he's got a bit of a forward base and not much of an army, so I've got a really good spread on units.
And these aircraft just get butchered because you knew what he was going.
Yeah.
And
he does have a lot more Tech 2 land than I thought he would, though. And my AI decides to go on a bit of a vacation, unfortunately. So I lose a lot more than I believe I should have done in that fight. But
to be honest, at this stage, it really doesn't matter. I mean, at this point,
I'm fairly happy taking out that much Tech 2 bombers.
Yeah.
For very little.
Yeah, it really came down to the fact that he was never going to win. Once those bombers went down, his only chance, I think, went with them. Because he just from this point onwards, I don't think he has the build capacity to keep up with you. And your tactical positioning is much better. You can always fall back to lines of protection. You're in radar. He's out of radar, we believe now.
I believe so, because his artillery isn't firing as often unless he gets vision. So I think I'm actually out of Tech 2 radar range here. Especially as I did kill his forward one when I pushed
the positioning here, going through this choke.
Yeah. Something about the pathing AI at the minute is that there are invisible areas where you can't pass through, and it forces the AI to do some very silly things sometimes.
Yeah, you can see that kind of bubbling effect there, and then you're eventually pushing into a more compact thing. And that's why you've been, if you see him grouping boxes around his army and pulling them side to side, it's not poor positioning, that's excellent positioning. He's spreading out, and you'll see it start to happen in a sec.
Yeah, this Tech 2 vehicle, I for some reason I think it's Tech 2 artillery because I pushed too far forward, and it's ground artillery, but it's not. It's just a vehicle which I'm going to kill quite quickly. So I think, hold on a sec.
Is that just a single vehicle? And
after I box everything to make sure I don't select my engineer.
Does it still have an engineering selection priority on this?
No.
Okay.
If you box, you pick up everything that's in the box.
They don't separate those units as yet?
No.
Okay, that's a little annoying.
It's very annoying.
Can you control shift units out?
No. You can't even, you can't shift double click to add units to a group.
Oh, that's very annoying.
Stuff like that, yeah. There's lots and lots of little annoying things. It's just tiny little interface things that they're not bothered about right now because they're not a priority.
No. Again, we know this is an alpha stage game. We're happy with that generally. This is a lot more playable than I think most alpha games should be.
I've had 3 crashes since I've been playing. That's how stable this is. It's immense.
That is really good. I think they've done real proud with getting the game out as fast as they can.
Yep. And here you go. I'm starting to spread out my army a bit more and looking to push forward. I'm dropping some random bits of artillery. Got some Tech 2 artillery further back. I don't know how to drop that Tech 1 artillery in the end. Thought I did.
Could you shift-click buildings to, have a rally point?
Yeah, buildings do have a rally point, but I don't think you can shift-click rally points. Which is a little annoying.
Fair enough.
There are lots and lots of annoying things, but because the user interface is written in JavaScript, in theory, you will be able to do anything you want.
Yeah, this has been mentioned previously. It's a fully customizable user interface, similar to Dota.
No.
Is Dota 2 not fully customizable?
No, Dota is like incredibly rigid.
Oh, fair enough.
This is unprecedented in every way, shape, and form. How customizable this is. One thing to note about what I was saying about spreading out as well. Quite often now, I have vision of everything.
Yeah.
My entire screen, or the vast majority of it that I want to look at, is I can see what's going on.
Oh yeah, yeah. In fact, you've got pretty much 50% of the entire planet covered by vision now.
Yes.
It is essentially planet lemming.
Anything that goes on, I know is going to. I know what's happening. I've got Tech 2 radar on all the extremities of my base now, I believe, as well. So he cannot do anything without me knowing about it.
Yeah, there you can see that massive arc of the Tech 2 artillery. This is really endgame. There's nothing he can do at this stage. This is...
I'm a little low on energy at points when I'm building this artillery, because I've just got so much going on at once, but it doesn't matter.
And that's really the endgame. He's going to have to push out at this stage. He's got no chance if you just continue to fire at him. You've got build production pushing artillery, and look at those armies spread out and creating a wall of death.
Yeah.
And that's really it.
I should have got scout planes up early, as you stated, just to be able to put over the target with my Tech 2 artillery here. I wasn't planning on doing this, but...
Do you think you've got the army to take him out, actually?
I'm very worried because he had a lot more Tech 2 vehicles than I thought he would at first. So I'm worried that if he's just switched over his build capacity like I can do to that rather than the bombers, he'd be able to get out quite a large ground army. And if he's static with artillery, the way artillery works, if the bigger the enemy army is, the more damage you're going to do.
The more effective it's going to be inherently.
Because if it fires at the first unit, if you have a big column of units, it's going to hit in the middle. It's going to kill everything.
Yeah.
You can't really microwave. But this is why I'm spreading my army out like this. So if he does move out, I can just move in one group, but they'll all come in at angles rather than one line, in theory.
And we refer to this as the concave.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very, very large concave. And of course, in Planetary Annihilation, you should always be able to get a circular concave on your enemy. Full 360 degrees, which is going to be hilarious when you actually get to the point in that game.
And unfortunate if you're that person. So what is that building there?
The air factory. Scouts up. As soon as I get a scout up, I do a little bit of a check on his base. For some reason, I can't hit this advanced factory.
There's the shot. There's the shot.
Yeah, it's hitting much too early for some reason. Must be hitting something else.
Something's dying to that.
Well, I've got 2 Tech 2 artillery at the front now. There's very little you can do about it. I should be checking the other side of the planet a bit more just to see if he's doing something around there.
But with this current ability to see where buildings are, or the major buildings, it's really not that vital, is it?
Yeah, because you can tell whether he's trying to build something. He's got a lot of buildings here.
Wow.
However, his flank is completely open in every way. He's protecting the bottom with some anti-air, but that's it. So I just say, you know what, didn't see his commander, so I can't snipe it with the artillery. I'm just going to go and attack.
And really, even if this attack fails horribly, you've still got the artillery.
Yep.
You've still got the, I think, if not superior build capacity in terms of sheer amount of buildings, I think you've got the better economy and the fact that you're assisting, which you don't think he is at this stage, do you?
I didn't see much going on there assisting-wise, and most of what his army saw was air.
And this is a bad composition for him, as you've already spotted that. You know he's got air.
And I've just been pumping out Tech 1 anti-air vehicles for pretty much the entire game now. So I've literally nothing to worry about on this attack.
And we've actually found that you were telling me that anti-air isn't as ineffective with ground as it should be. I mean, again, if you take examples of current anti-air, a flat cannon is
traditionally in these sort of games, anti-air can't attack ground, it's really strange that it can. Like, some Total Annihilation anti-air could, but if it's specialised in anti-air, it couldn't attack ground. Think about the anti-air turrets.
The anti-air turrets, we have noted the point defence turrets are a little too good against air for
but any unit can shoot at anything, including underwater, which is a bit strange.
Really?
Yeah, I think that might be a bug though.
Ah, right, okay. Because subs have always been
confirmed or unconfirmed. But yes, you can actually shoot underwater units with land units at the minute. You can also go underwater with land units, so that's a bug.
So everything's currently amphibious, is it?
Yeah, well, I can't remember if there's vehicles or bots or amphibious. One of them is, one of them isn't.
Okay.
But it's just really weird.
Fair enough. Wow, that artillery is powerful.
Yeah, and I can just carry on pushing this flank now and take out all his econ.
And that's
a little bit of it.
That's the game. It was the game a long time ago.
Yeah,
what's that attack? These units positioned oddly, were they coming in from another angle? Were they
coming from behind. They may have been trying to do a little bit of a roundabout attack, but it didn't matter.
How uncouth.
I find his commander, and
look at the difference in build capacity here, people. Look at the amount of separate buildings he had compared to your buildings. However, you seem to be producing significantly more than him.
Yeah, just boosting with things. I also don't think I have enough econ to handle all this.
All this, no. And that's very important, isn't it? I mean, you're aware that you had a deficit in energy for a long period of time. But the reason that you switch everything out of that instantly is because it's so negative to not be using your build capacity.
Very well managed player says grats to me.
Yeah.
I say good game.
Yeah.
Because it was a very, very good game. I did win in the end.
Well, I think the game's going to end very soon.
Somebody else back on what it was.
So I'd like to, again, thank Lemmy for letting me come and have a chat today. And
thanks very much for being here.
Absolutely.
Hope people enjoyed it.
Yeah, please subscribe and please leave comments.
All right, thank you very much. And that's the real Lemmy and Morgwai signing out.
Sign out.